Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Q&As. So let's go ahead and get this started. All right, first question. Why is my deadlift so far ahead of my squat and bench? Deadlift 185 kilos, squat 132.5 kg, bench 90 kg. How do I catch up? Well, I'm going to say possibly the deadlift versus bench is going to be you might have long arms. But let's talk about the deadlift versus the squat. Okay, I want you to stop and think this through for a moment. When we talk about muscle mass, why does muscle mass matter so much more on the squat than the deadlift? Quads. Quads are the largest muscle in the body. This is why we can look at DEXA scans and estimate someone's 1 rep max squat. It's why the study that did this was so effective. Quads, biggest muscle, glutes number 2. Incidentally, what are the 2 most important muscles to the squat? Quads and glutes, biggest muscles in the body. You can be a back dominant deadlifter, right? You could have a jack back and relatively weak legs and still have a decent deadlift. Okay, legs will help. You get your legs jacked too, that'll help your deadlift a lot. But in the simplest terms, it's about muscle mass. Look at me. My quads are massive. People are always joking, Quadzilla, stuff like that. My squat and my deadlift are within a few percent of each other. What's the heaviest you guys have seen me squat with any bar? 605 with no reps. Heaviest you've seen me pull is 625. That's 20 pounds difference when we're over 600. It's a few percent. That's less than 5% difference. But look at my quads. Really advanced lifters who are not built to be deadlift specialists, you see the same thing. As you get more and more advanced, they start catching each other. It has to do with total muscle mass. More total muscle mass on your body does more pound for pound or kilo for kilo for your squat than it does for your deadlift. Deadlift has a lot of leverages involved. Muscle matters. It matters a lot. There's a lot of leverage advantage there. People with good levers can get an advantage there very quickly. You, and looking at that weaker bench too, which is also very muscle mass dependent for the upper body, you have not put enough time under the bar or eaten enough food to gain the muscle to get them up. You probably are built to deadlift. You're structurally and genetically built to deadlift, and you don't have a lot of muscle. Okay? You're going to have to spend more time getting bigger. That's it. That is the only way they're going to come up. You're going to have to get bigger quads and glutes to get that squat up. That means you're going to have to eat and gain weight. Unless you're fat already, you will have to gain body weight. Those are the biggest muscles in the body. Adding muscle to them puts pounds or puts kilos on you. It's unavoidable. More time under the bar, more food, more training volume, or appropriate training volume. So that's your solution. All right, next question. What is your opinion on a 3-day full body conjugate system without the speed work, where you do 1 max effort upper day and 1 max lower body lift every session while rotating lifts, and you do your lower and upper accessory work volume after the max is on every training day? For people who can only train 3 days a week due to schedule but can be in the gym as long as necessary on those 3 days to get the volume in. Could this be effective in your opinion? Thanks, coach. No, I don't think non-novices need to do full body. When I messed with full body as a non-novice, I made way slower progress. So does everybody I know. It works really well for the novice lifter. If you have time constraints like that, you could just do more volume on an upper lower and push it out. Right? You could do more volume on an upper lower and push it out. You could do it 3 days to where you end up with 2 uppers and 1 lower 1 week and then switch to the next. You could push it out that way. You could do it as all max effort, especially if you're only training 3 days. I mean, you could do on me every day just fine. I get away with it because of my lifestyle with 4 days. I don't recommend a lot of people do that unless your lifestyle can accommodate it. Okay? You can definitely do the ME work every time. But I don't recommend you try to do full body. It just doesn't work for non-novices. Your training volumes are too high. You get too buried from trying to hit that many body parts. And there's no benefit to that frequency. Right? There's no benefit to taking your frequency up to 3 days a week. At that point in the game, it doesn't seem to cause any more muscle growth. So I would suggest that you could do kind of what I talked about earlier. You could do a squat, bench, and deadlift based day, right, with appropriate accessories. You could do that and do all your volume for those muscles more or less on those days. Or you could do it as the upper lower and take yourself up to really high volumes, meaning go ahead and do 10 sets for a muscle group, right? You'll hit it about every 4 or 5 days. It'll be fine. It'll keep you in that optimal volume zone. That's what I would recommend. I don't like the, well, since I can get away with a ton of volume because of recovery, and I'll just do 3 full bodies. No, you're going to have garbage volume. You're going to have garbage volume by the end. You're just going to be doing junk volume due to fatigue. So I would say go ahead and maximize volume on the upper lower might be the best way to go, right? Or you could even do a lift oriented like I discussed. You might be able to get away with that. And go ahead and do, 10 sets. 10 sets per muscle group, right? You don't really want to go over that. Doesn't seem to be any real benefit. Occasionally some things will get harder like glutes. It's almost unavoidable. But I would recommend something more like that rather than the full body personally. All right, next question and last question of the week. I can't sumo squat, but I can sumo deadlift. Same goes for conventional. I can do conventional squatting, but not conventional deadlifting. What am I doing wrong, or how to improve? Thanks a lot. Well, you clearly have the ability to do a wide stance squat if you can do a sumo deadlift. Your hip structure allows for it. You haven't built the appropriate muscles up. Here's what I'm going to recommend. Get on a box. Learn to sit back. Stop trying to back squat for a bit. Work on your box squatting. Use the box squat to learn to sit back better. Until you can learn to push all the way back, you're not going to be able to use a wide stance squat, the real wide stance. When you do, you're probably going to find that you're going to be pretty strong at it. And your sumo deadlift's going to go up. Now, why you can't conventional deadlift, I don't know. I have no idea. I've never heard of that. I've heard of people who have injuries that don't allow them to conventional deadlift, but physically unable, you're probably not doing the lift correctly. I have multiple tutorials I've done in recent years. Don't even look at the old stuff. Look at the more new stuff showing you how to set up. Watch my one where I show you how to use the row. How to use the barbell row to set up your deadlift. Okay? Because if you can narrow stance squat, you probably should have a monstrous narrow stance deadlift. The only reason that you would have a really weak deadlift in that case, like let's say you try to do it and your numbers suck. Number one, you probably are trying to squat the weight up or something. You're probably dropping your hips too low, using really bad form, bad leverages, or you just have a really weak back. So I'm going to say first you need to assess your form, learn how to perform a conventional deadlift correctly. You probably are not. Get strong on rows and good mornings. That'll fix that, right? So there's technical issues to learn here. Box squat can fix them for the wide stance squatting. It will fix the muscles involved. It'll teach you to do it. And as far as your conventional deadlift, first you need to make sure you're actually performing it correctly. Okay, make sure you're performing it correctly. I've got plenty of tutorials. And if you learn to perform it correctly and you're still just super weak at it, work on your rows and good mornings. It'll bring it up. Pretty straightforward. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.